Welcome to the Shabby Detective, yet another Columbo podcast. I'm your host, Mike White. Join me, of course, is Mr. Chris Dashew.
I wish you had been a chef, Mike White.
This month, we are talking about Murder Under Glass. It is the second episode of the 7th season, directed by Jonathan Demme. Is that how you pronounce it? Of course, no. Jonathan Demme.
Are you trying to be Father Karras's mother from The Exorcist? Jonathan Demme, don't let me die, Demme.
Try to be one of these very out of touch podcasters where they've never actually heard of some of the people they talk about. Yeah.
You mean like most
like them? Yeah. So it's directed by Jonathan Demme, written by Robert Van Scoik, and stars Louis Jourdan as Paul Gerard, a very famous television food critic. It came out January 30th, 1978. It is a blissful 73 minutes long. And Chris, I am so curious, what did you think of Murder Under Glass?
I think it was interesting. However, I will say kind of a strange episode because in a lot of ways, this is one of the, I mean, and again, we've talked about this before when we talk about Columbo. We talk about the idea of like, well, we don't talk about as much as we kind of ask ourselves collectively, you and I, the question of when did Columbo know that the person that he's pursuing is in fact the committer of the crime? I mean, this time around, I'm not even sure how it could have been anybody else. Like, it's one of those things where, yes, it's a locked room, kind of like the last episode where, you know, we have, you know, well, who knows how it happened? There was, you know, he wasn't even there this time. He did it somehow. Columbo knows it. He just has to figure out how. There's no question. It wasn't an accident. That's determined almost immediately into the episode. For me, I enjoyed it. However, there were very low stakes because there was no red herrings, really. There was no side tangents, really. Columbo is just on Louis Jourdan's ass from the moment go. And in a lot of ways, like, Louis Jourdan is not doing anything to dissuade Columbo from pursuing him. I mean, at the end of the episode, we get what I find to be a really interesting moment of Columbo just being like, fuck you, essentially. Like, we've never seen Columbo act that way towards someone, where he's like, I respect you, but kindly go fuck yourself. Contrast that with the Miguel Ferrer episode, where they're sharing a cigar together at the end, and there's like a mutual respect and understanding. And this one, it's like, I mean, maybe they respect each other in terms of being professionals, but Columbo with Louis Jourdan is just like, fuck this guy. I'm sure after he was done, Columbo was like, good riddance. My hands are clean. And I think that is kind of earned because Louis Jourdan, I think, does a good job in this episode. I just don't think the episode was writing in terms of the plot machinations. I don't think they ever really rise to the occasion that Louis Jourdan and Peter Falk they both rise each other's ships, but the plot does not. The plot kind of meanders. And then you have Mako in there for like a moment, which he kind of like almost just steals the entire show, frankly. I enjoyed it, but it definitely has some issues. So, Mike, I'm curious your thoughts, because you're the Columbo expert here. I am the Columbo neophyte.
I have a real soft spot for this episode. I can see why it's not necessarily the best episode in the world. I can fully cop to that. No problem. For God's sake, this old man montage that they have with the music and everything, that is a real pain in the ass, and it just does nothing to endear me. We always talk, when does Columbo know this? This time, we actually get that question from the killer. When did you know? I knew as soon as you showed up at the crime scene and you didn't get your stomach pumped. You just came right in there. What's he say? Like, that's the most damnedest bit of civic
Good
duty.
Samaritan. Yeah, civic duty. Yeah. Like,
ever seen.
Yeah. He's like, you're a real piece of shit, dude. Like, it's like that was a dead giveaway. I don't know if you've ever seen that clip of dead giveaway. It's weird how much he really goes out of his way to implicate himself when that's like would have been so easy. Like, so unbelievably easy. Just go get your stomach pumped. Like, even if it's just for effect, which it effectively would have been. Like, but yet, no, you knew. Like, man, Louis Jourdan, not a smart villain.
No, and the whole thing of how he was running to the airport afterwards to pick up Mako, and that, well, first off, when somebody comes in and their flight arrives at 8:55. Don't show up at the airport at 8:55. What are you doing? I mean, there's got to be time to disembark, to go get your luggage, all that kind of stuff. Maybe in the 70s it was a lot faster, but these days it's like, honey, text me when your plane lands and I'll drive down to the airport and I'll probably be pulling up right around the time you come out with your bag. That's how it is these days. But anyway, so yes, 8:55, he's supposed to pick up Mako, and he has an 8 o'clock dinner appointment with the chef. I love that the chef is played by the same guy who's from Godfather 2, who slits his wrists in the tub, talks to Tom Hagen for a little while, has that sudden case of amnesia on the stand. Probably one of my favorite parts of Godfather 2.
Yeah, I think when we recently talked about Godfather for our What No Fucking ZD podcast, I mean, I think that was maybe one of the only positives we had about the things we missed out on Godfather 2 was that the Frank DeAngelis, because that's him, right? It's all of that. It's all of that. Because that's
Michael V. Gazzo.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He's got that great hoarse voice and everything. And I mean, this episode is an embarrassment of riches as far as all of these actors. I mean, having Richard Dysart in here as one of the other chefs, having Gazzo in here as the one who gets murdered, even half brother of Alan Alda as Mario here. I'll let you in on a little secret. He actually can't speak English.
Yeah, shocking, I'm sure. Shara Denise is in this episode. Peter Falk's wife is in this episode as well.
By the time this episode came out, they were married.
For me, this episode maybe goes down as the funniest thing Columbo has worn so far in this show. The chef outfit at the end of the episode, which is just...
I don't know. That seems very fitting for him. I don't know.
It is, but it's just wild. Like, this is not someone who we've seen wearing anything other than a trench coat for the most part, or a suit and trench coat. And here he is, sleeves halfway rolled up with a chef's hat on and looking convincing. He's no Timothy Carey, but who is? So he's not making chili. He's making, chicken scallopini or chicken piccata or whatever the fuck he's making. Making it rather well, according to Louis Jourdan as well, which maybe he had a ratatouille moment with the food, which, couldn't have prevented what happened, but, would have been nice, I guess.
As in there's a rat underneath his hat controlling him?
The compliments to the chef. He pulls his hat up. There's just a small rat that looks like Peter Falk underneath the hat. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got one glass eye. Wearing a little trench coat.
It starts whistling, this old man. It has a dog and a bowl of chili with it.
We saw Peter Falk in the kitchen, or we saw Columbo in the kitchen back with Martin Landau, and he seemed to be having a great time. And this episode kind of calls that episode to mind. Again, this episode calls other episodes to mind, like the idea of the wine. Of course, I'm thinking of, any old port in the storm. I can't beat that drum loud enough. But what I kind of miss is I kind of miss when Columbo had to learn things, and when he would be thrust into worlds that he was unfamiliar with, and then having this kind of discomfort and have to figure out the crime a little bit more than, oh, he was slamming drawers and there's this drawer and it's got this check. Okay, I'll show it around at the funeral and see who reacts. Some big reactions coming from Dysart, and I can't remember the actress's name, that Madame Choi. I mean, it is, you guys really don't know how to hide your guilt very well, do you?
And that's what I mean when I say, like, the writing of this episode feels kind of lazy, because that scene in particular was just like, they're standing 10 feet from Columbo. If they were paying attention, they would have seen him hand the check. The check had to start somewhere, and someone started passing it around. I would love to know why they didn't realize what was going on. They even mentioned the guy who's investigating the murder is here with us today. And he's probably the one person nobody recognizes, the one who kind of, looks like a fucking cop. So, and he's the one handing things around, and you're reacting. That to me is just very lazy, convenience-bound writing. I don't like it because this show is not that lazy. Like, this is a show that almost feels intentionally unlazy. Sometimes it's so unlazy, it kind of gets itself into trouble by working itself into kind of like, spiraling in on itself, coiling in on itself. Like this episode, on the other hand, just, I don't know, like there's not enough avenue. Like we always talk about these avenues that Columbo goes down, these like dead ends. There aren't any here. Every single thing he figures out essentially factors into the finale. Like even Louis Jourdan is like, well, I'm trying to remember. One of the things is like how long he waited or something. Oh, it was he left dinner early. He knew he was going to leave dinner early. Like, yes, he knew because he was poisoning him, but Louis Jourdan had a really interesting answer that doesn't really hold water, like at all. And so it's like, okay, so that actually is a path you could have gone down for the entire direction. You just choose not to here. Like there are no dead ends this episode goes down. It almost shuts him off like immediately in the scene that it brings him up, which is wild because it's made pretty clear early on, I feel like, how this is going to resolve. Maybe it's just me. Like it felt pretty obvious when they keep focusing on the very obvious, more than likely newfangled way of opening up bottles. Because mind you, this is 1978. Most people are expecting a bottle opener, a corkscrew to be used, which would not allow them to do the twist. This has to have a specific kind of thing to have a specific kind of twist. I don't know if you've ever used one of the things that they use in this episode to open a bottle of wine. This must have seemed like genuine, again, a technological fad in 1978, a CO2 container to pop the cork out.
And I guess that's as close to using technology to figure something out as we've done in quite a long time. Even in the last episode, I mean, it's just the way that the stuff is scratched onto those boxes. We really haven't used any sort of technology for figuring out the murder in a while. It feels like since really, I don't know, the last time we used like video or phone technology. We're going to get that when we move into the ABC years with a few occasions. But yeah, other than the wine thing, and I'm guessing what goes on is when you pump that in there, it releases a little bit of either CO2 or nitrous or whatever. I guess it would be CO2. Nitrous would be too much fun. And then that must dislodge the cork because you're adding too much pressure inside the bottle, makes it easier to pull out, right?
Right, because there's that little bit of headspace at the top, so it pops the cork out the other direction.
I've never seen a thing like that. Then again, I only drink wine that has screw tops on it.
Or comes out of a box. I only drink the finest Robert Mondavi jug wine.
Don't you want to smell the bottle cap?
It was invented in the late 70s, early 80s.
Okay.
So this is newfangled technology. I mean, again, like we've talked about that with Columbo, of the technological leanings of Columbo, but this feels similarly. Like again, seeing this in 1978 must have felt like kind of a new thing. Like it was experimentally patented in the late 70s. So this is a early 80s. You were able to get one of these. So this may have even felt like, what is this? I've never ever seen this, because I mean, again, we had the answering machine. We had all kinds of stuff with that Robert Culp episode twice with Robert Culp. We had technology playing a factor, like CCTVs, like closed circuit TVs, right? That was a whole thing. Like, and now we have a bottle opener. Like, it doesn't not work. It works here because of the world that we're in. But to your point, this could have been a port in any storm. Like, this could have been the way that episode resolved, really, and it wouldn't have felt any less of it wouldn't have felt like a reach there either. It doesn't feel like a reach here. The way this episode ends doesn't feel like a reach. The issue with the episode is a different one. There's not really any stakes, because Columbo's got Louis Jourdan from the jump. And Louis Jourdan almost like relishes it. He never really tries to deny it, which is also strange.
Yeah, he doesn't really pin it on anybody else. I thought for sure he was going to try to pin it on Mario, because here's this poor immigrant kid coming over. He's the nephew of the guy that Louis Jourdan just murdered. Feels like, oh yeah, natural thing. Because, if you don't take care of that kid, he's going to come back for revenge. And that's the Sicilian way. And I think they are doing a Godfather thing when the cop comes in to tell Columbo that Louis Jourdan is there. And the cop comes over and sits down next to Columbo, or like crouches down and starts whispering in his ear, and you keep getting Columbo looking over at Jourdan and then looks back at the guy, and they talk for some more, and then he looks back at Jourdan. Just like, is this some sort of mob thing that they're doing? I think it kind of has to be.
I would assume so. I mean, again, not only is it the world of food, but to your point, we also get the world of like the Italian food world specifically, because like you said, Michael Vigazzo as Vittorio Rossi, clearly Italian. And so when you have Paul Gerard, the Louis Jourdan character, who's, a restaurant critic who's blackmailing people. Pretty shitty thing to do. But, if you're blackmailing the Italian restaurant to lean into the like mobster possibility of it all is interesting. It doesn't go anywhere, though.
Yeah, it seems very flimsy that they would pay him thousands of dollars every single month just so that he wouldn't trash their restaurant. I'm like, how much are they making in order to do that? And is he just the only restaurant critic in town? I mean, this feels almost like the sweet smell of success or something. Like he's like a Hunsaker who's just going to trash somebody in his column unless they play ball with him. It feels very flimsy when it comes to that. And we've seen Columbo with food before. We saw him cook an omelet for a murder victim's wife before. We saw him, like I said, in the kitchen with Martin Landau. But we've also seen him, obviously, at Bert's getting some chili. We've seen how low rent his tastes are. We've seen him in the kitchen of the embassy in A Matter of Immunity, and how he was kind of sketched out by some of the more exotic food. I would almost like it if he, I don't know, either was really getting, I mean, he's into the food as it's getting presented to him, but at the same time, he doesn't seem to be, I don't know, afraid of the food, or he doesn't seem to really relish it that much. I guess he's enjoying those, and I was enjoying looking at those crab stuffed mushrooms. Those look amazing
those look
to me. Oh my God.
He just had a couple. I'm not hungry anymore. Yeah, we'll share with the rest of the class, Columbo.
And that was a running bit that I liked a lot. And I don't know if it was a little bridge too far when Larry Mann at the funeral is like, as long as you're investigating this case, you'll never go hungry.
Maybe not. Don't say that. There seems to be no respect for the dead in this episode whatsoever, because Columbo's doing all these effectively shenanigans at the funeral. And then, you have people just kind of acting like assholes also at the funeral. It's bizarre. This is a bizarre episode. Like, for me, it does check a lot of the boxes of like a good villain, a good, interesting world that the thing is taking place. But the trappings just seem so like muddle-headed. Like they don't. I almost wanted a Falkism scene in this episode. Like, give me something. Like, give me something weird. Not to say that this episode's not kind of strange in its own right, but it feels like a very small episode. It doesn't even feel like there's really anybody in it but Louis Jourdan and Peter Falk. I mean, I know we've mentioned all these other people, but they're really, like, most of the people in this are only in it for like one scene. It's Columbo and Louis Jourdan just like all over each other all episode, and not like that. They're just like, Columbo just won't leave him alone because there's no one else. Like, there's nobody else. So it's just like they're just at odds with each other, and it never really runs afoul. It just would have been nice if there had been some other thing going on, like some complexity to it, or Louis Jourdan trying to poison someone else to make it seem like, I just something.
Somehow it feels like he could have twisted the whole idea of the other two people that were paying him off were threatening something, like he doesn't have a leg to stand on. Once the whole idea of the Restaurateur Association, and it's so bizarre that it's like, oh yeah, we only have $174 in our savings account. And then they find out, oh, there's a second account. And it's like, checking account. Like, why is that so hard? And it's such a big revelation at the bank. Like, oh my gosh. And there's another scene where he's having that coffee cake and giving it to the woman that works at the bank. And she's trying to act and chew at the same time. And then his whole thing where he just happens to call Eve Plum by the wrong name, and then she responds, and it's just like, like, I'm surprised there wasn't like a freeze frame, kind of thing, like That was pretty easy the way you got her to admit to this other name, the name of the person that is actually running the checking account for this Restaurateurs Association. And yes, Louis Jourdan is trying to get you to liquidate your account and send you out of the country. Again, I was kind of hoping that he was going to have her liquidate the account and then try to murder her. So then she would have to go to Columbo and say, listen, this is what's going on. Something there needed to be another big twist to this episode, whether it was Richard Dicehart looks guilty, whether it was Mario looks guilty, whether it was the Jourdan is going to kill the secretary, something to set it off and say, look at something else that's going on instead of just being so laser focused on Jourdan. And yes, he would still be laser focused, but it would just give him more to bury Jourdan with rather than, oh, I have this glass of poisoned wine. And of course, at the end of this, when you've got a glass of wine, you've got a glass of poisoned wine, I'm thinking of Wallace Shawn and The Princess Bride.
Thank you. You beat me to it. Inconceivable, Mike, that you would think of that.
The thing is that Columbo ingests a small amount of blowfish poison every single day, so now he has an immunity to it.
I love how when Columbo comes to dinner with Mako and Louis Jourdan is doing everything he can to not have Columbo understand what it is they're eating, which is the thing he used the poison for to kill Michael Vigazzo, which is a known thing. Like, it's not like, like all it does is just further confirm to Columbo that this guy's a fucking moron who did everything out in the open and above board to the point where he's like, where does he get his fish from? Like,
they are watching a rerun of Louis Jourdan's food program where he's talking about fugu. So while the episode's running, I'm like, what's going to happen? Is he going to be watching television and a rerun's going to show? And that's how he's going to put the whole thing together? Because we've seen that before. We've seen where it's just like, oh, the rerun.
Well, wasn't that the Cassavetes episode? Wasn't some yeah.
Here's the boutonniere before. Oh, it's not there anymore. What happened to it?
Again, in this episode, it just felt kind of convenient. There's a lot of just like convenient stuff in this episode. And I wish they had gone in a different direction with the way that this wrapped up. I wish they had gone in a different direction. I wish, like you said, I wish that there was some kind of like mystery as to, there were multiple people vying for him or something, or someone was trying to, like, I don't know, like maybe someone was trying to kill Louis Jourdan as well. Like, I don't know. Like, Louis Jourdan has more enemies than he does friends. Like, there's nobody in this town who likes this guy. So the fact that people weren't out to kill him is a little bit more surprising. But yeah, I'm surprised that there wasn't any more intrigue to the things that were going on, more so than we got. I will say, to the Jonathan Demme of it all, competently directed.
Yeah, very well directed, I think. I thought the stuff with the geishas was a little much. I mean, of course, it was very like, hey, we hired these ladies for the evening to add to our ambiance. It just felt a little privileged kind of stuff when it came to that. Though while I'm watching it, I'm just like, Columbo must have been in the war, right? He must have served at some point. He might even talk about that in an episode. Doesn't he talk about that too in the episode at the Boys Academy where they're all in the military academy?
The McGowan episode.
Right.
I think so. I think he mentioned something, yeah.
Yeah, it feels like he was a Navy man, and it feels like he probably was stationed overseas in the Pacific arena. That's just, I don't know what it is about, even though he's like a nice Brooklyn boy and everything, it just feels like he probably served over in Japan.
Well, he's right age as well, so.
I don't know, I just have this whole headcanon for Columbo.
Well, Mrs. Columbo, she's not a very good cook, according to Columbo.
And apparently she's going to night school for accounting.
Mrs. Columbo does not exist. Mrs. Columbo is but a figment of this man's imagination. I love when he trots her out. Like, I love when he trots her out. Like, Mrs. Columbo this, Mrs. Columbo that. Like, that's a very interesting tactic, that externalization thing where it's like, oh, somebody else told me. And it's like, oh, that's a very clever tactic to use. Like, it really is. Especially when it's like his wife, which no one's going to question that. Like, they don't know him well enough to question it.
Well, I was hoping that he would say, again, with having Mario I was hoping they'd be like, oh, well, I can have my nephew come by and talk with this kid or something. I was almost hoping that Columbo couldn't speak Italian very well, that it comes out that he, like his folks never spoke it around him or something, and he has to get somebody else in to translate for him. But instead, he just jumps into it, and then he starts screaming at Mario, and I'm just like, whoa, what is going on here? What? And then it's just like, yeah, he's okay. Yeah, don't worry about it. It's all right.
Yeah, I love that. I actually really love that about Columbo, where he's just screaming at him in Italian. It's like, Columbo, what is going on, man? Like you've been pretty even keeled up until this point, Columbo. It takes a lot to rattle Columbo, but here he is just like with some of the most rattled I think I've seen the character being so like angry with this like guy who can't really speak English very well, if he can speak English at all. So
yeah, and that he has to use Columbo as his translator at the big award show, where that guy breaks in and he starts talking about how Devlin McGregor fixed the files. That was very strange. I'm like, next ballroom, sir.
You changed the samples, didn't you, huh? You switched the samples. After Lentz died, you were the only one who had the access. You switched the samples and the pathology reports. You kill Lentz too, huh?
Can we get some security in here, please?
Did you? He falsified his research.
That whole thing too, when they're going grocery shopping, him and Louis Jourdan. I mean, again, like you said, they are stuck together throughout this whole thing. Like, why are they going shopping together? Why is he, taking advice on whether mangoes are ripe or not? Or it might not have been a mango. It might have been the what's the other one that's it's got black seeds in it, green on the outside, orange on the inside?
Oh, papaya? Guava?
Papaya. Yeah, it looked like a papaya that he was like, is this squishy enough, sir? And he's got that green grocer like following behind him. I'm like, what the hell is this weird setup? It just, like I said, it's not a bad episode. I do like a lot of things about it. I do like the idea of the blowfish poison. I find that to be interesting. And especially that, like you said, it's kind of a locked room mystery where it's how did the poison get into the bottle kind of thing? Was it the bottle? Was it the wine? Yeah. Was it the glass? They don't even talk about the glass. I'm surprised they didn't. Like, what is it that poisoned this wine? How did it get inside this guy's system? And of course, whenever you talk about blowfish poison, I have to think about The Simpsons as well. And that was like I think it was like season 2 that episode was in.
You mean the one with George Takei?
Hey, what's this? Fugu!
It is blowfish, sir. But I should warn you that one...
Come on, pal. Fugu me!
And that's the one where Homer is like, I'm dying in a day, so I have to make, bucket list, make amends with everybody. It's like season 2 of The Simpsons. 35 years later.
Jesus Christ, yeah.
How many times has Homer made amends with people now? God, good God. Yeah, that is what I always think about as well, is, Fugu is The Simpsons.
I always picture the fish, which I haven't seen that episode in forever, but I always picture the fish looking a lot like Blinky, the three-eyed fish.
The three-eyed fish from the radiation runoff. Yeah, what's funny is like Fugu is really one of those things that isn't explored in a lot of stuff, but the things that explore it, like they stick out to me, like The Simpsons, obviously. Like that's the big one. And also, I think it's in Johnny English. He's eating fugu as well. At some point, he's eating blowfish, I think, on like a sushi line, which is like not real. It's either that or they're eating urchin or something. They're eating something, and he's freaking out. So yeah, blowfish doesn't get mentioned a lot. Like it's but when it does get mentioned, it's often being used for nefarious things like the poison.
I just came from the lab. I told them what to test for, and sure enough, Declan Harker was poisoned with pufferfish toxin.
It says here it's more potent than cyanide. One drop causes hallucination, vomiting, paralysis, death. Declan was a goner even without that car.
Can't believe people pay to eat that.
I have. It's safe.
Would you try it? Would you try blowfish?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Same. First
thing, I get off the airplane in Tokyo and I just go right up to the gas station and I go, get me some fugu.
You go to the gas station.
Well, that's where you get your sushi, right?
Go to the convenience stores in Japan are pretty dope. I can tell you that much. They're not going to have fugu at the gas station convenience store, but they will have pretty good tonkatsu sandwiches, maybe some egg salad sandwiches. No fugu, though. I didn't have fugu when I went to Japan. I would like to have, but again, it's also one of those things where it can kill you. Like, it's not a joke, obviously. So I don't think it kills you immediately, though, which I think is the other thing. Like, I think Michael V. Gazzo dies very quickly in this episode. It's not instantaneous. Obviously, that's just for comedic effect. Because given that we're talking about The Simpsons, in The Simpsons, he ingests it too. And it's like he has a day. This is like he drops dead. Like, this was, I don't even know, like a kill switch. Like, this is a poison pill. I don't know how else to describe it, but he dies immediately, which I do kind of have a problem with, because that's not how fugu poison works. Like, that's how other poisons work. That's how I believe like cyanide works that quickly. But at the same time, if it was cyanide, his mouth would be foaming and it would be obvious that he was poisoned, versus this where it's like, oh, it might have been an accident.
And then don't you get that cyanosis where like your lips turn blue and everything as well?
Speaking of that, in the upcoming James Bond movie, we're going to talk about the guy, Javier Bardem's character had a poisoned tooth in his mouth and that whole thing. Yeah, it's like, I guess it's not even a guarantee. So I don't know, like, I like that fugu was the vehicle through which the kill happened, but it is so obvious what's going on from the jump that, yeah, it's kind of a bummer Columbo doesn't have that scene of him watching the video of this guy going, and this is fugu. Like, where else would anybody else have gotten that from? Like, who even has access to it? I don't know. This is one of those things where the episode is okay, but then the vehicle through which the poisoning happens, it gives away who it is immediately. Like, who else? Who else would have access to this other than this, like, well-known chef and restaurant critic? But again, like, he's still talking about food like he knows what he's talking about. So he must have some cooking capabilities, obviously, but who else was going to have access to like something to that effect?
I mean, it so could have been like rat poison, something else that's found inside of a kitchen, some other mechanism rather than this very, very exotic poison.
That if they do any sort of tox screening on which, if they believe he's been poisoned, will come back immediately. It's tetrodotoxin. Like, that's not something that like comes up in just daily life. Like, that's it. It's like you gave yourself away immediately. And I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that with this show, because this show is normally not that. I wouldn't say lazy. I would just say this show is not normally this conventional with the way it tells the story. I mean, that's kind of the thing about this show for me, is that it's very unconventional in the way that it tells the narrative. And this episode feels shockingly conventional.
You mentioned Jonathan Demme, and this was kind of a thing to tide him over. He had just done Citizens Band, which I think, did we cover that on the Culture Cast, or was that Wake Up Heavy?
No, we've covered that. We covered that back in the day. That was a film that Mark Begley picked, actually.
That's right, because Ed Begley Jr. was in it. And
that's right.
I love that movie. Now, a lot of other people love that movie, but it did not do very well at the box office. Demme was kind of hurting at this time in his career. And yeah, he got this offer to do this Columbo and was very pleasantly surprised that it was not a bad experience whatsoever, which is nice, because we know our star can get a little testy at times. So yeah, apparently he had a good time working on this. And then he would come back right afterwards with Last Embrace, I think, which I think I finally saw that one. I might be mixing that one up with Obsession, the De Palma, because there's like two mystery thrillers right around the same time, and I always mix those up in my head for whatever reason. So if I haven't seen it, I should probably go check it out.
I mean, I'm a huge fan of Jonathan Demme.
I like a lot of Jonathan Demme. His weird confessional close-up thing that he does, I thought it worked really well in Silence of the Lambs. I didn't think it worked well in Philadelphia, and he kind of lost me with Philadelphia. Philadelphia
is a movie I've seen once. Like, I don't
really need to see it a second time. No.
Well, and for me, Jonathan Demme, as great of a director as he is with certain things, like the thing that I love that he did was Stop Making Sense. I mean, obviously, we've talked about Silence of the Lambs ad nauseum. It's a perfect film. His direction is a huge part of what makes that film great. But same with Stop Making Sense. I mean, yes, the Talking Heads are my favorite band, but you can't pretend like the direction in that movie isn't one of the reasons it's so fucking like engaging and enthralling and like mesmerizing, is because Demme just understands how to shoot the band in a way that's compelling. And that is a testament to him as a director. You know, here it's just, I'm not going to say this is workmanlike, but it's not being given much to do. Like, this is television. Like you said, he's just biding the time. He wants to be directing. He wants to be working. Like, he brings a steady, even hand to this. He doesn't need to bring any more than that, really. Like, and this is early on in his career. So this is his first TV thing. So he's already showing he's a pretty capable director early on with this, you know, with this episode. Like, and obviously he would go on to direct so many other things, but I think he does a great job. And with this episode, I guess just there's not much to do. This is not like when Spielberg directed that episode where it's kind of like there are some flourishes of Spielberg. Like, there's none of that here, like, which is fine. Doesn't have to be.
Well, we've kind of lost some of the flourishes along the way as well. I mean, I think to that episode with Robert Culp, where you see the murder and the cleanup in his glasses. I love that kind of stuff. And it's like nobody's really taking any chances these days.
And I don't know why. I wonder if it's just the imperative has changed in terms of what the expectations were from the show. It's kind of what it feels like. I mean, the focus now just seems to be like Columbo is becoming almost a caricature of the character we had seen. And, you know, that in my mind is something that we've already like discussed a lot, which is, you know, like the kind of stereotyping or parodization or parodying of the Columbo character, and Peter Falk is part of that. He's part and parcel in it. Some of the stuff here just doesn't feel necessary, because I'm just like, we don't need all these like pointing out of the Columbo things all the time. He says just one more thing like 3 times in this episode. You don't have to say it so much. Like, just stop beating me over the head with it. It seems like the focus went away from telling engaging, interesting, compelling stories to just, let's just watch Columbo be Columbo. And it's like, you know, that's fine for some people, but that's not what is engaging with me in this show. That's not what's bringing me to this show. The show holistically is what's bringing me through the door, not just Peter Falk's performance, which I know for a lot of people is the thing you're here for.
Yeah, he's doing a lot of the big hand motions in this one, especially with the holding his hand straight up, like just one more thing that he's doing. It's like, all right, yeah, he's playing it very broadly. I think we're going to get that probably for the entire rest of the season. And it's kind of a shame. You know, I really think that the showrunner is encouraging this kind of stuff, and it feels like Falk is going right along with them. And yeah, we're going to get a lot more of that as we move into the future with this show.
If this is the direction the rest of the season is going, that is immensely disappointing, only because this show did work well when it was practicing nuance and subtlety and restraint. And you know, I know that we're knocking on the door at this point of the reboot seasons or the remake seasons or the reimagining or the return of Columbo, however you want to talk about it, which we will get to it when we get to it. But this is seemingly where this is starting. Like, it's beginning here. It's already part of the show's DNA, at this junction in time, which is, you know, the 7th season of the show. And look, I know this show's seasons have not necessarily been consistent in length. There has been no consistency in length with this show. So I got to give it a pass in that regard, because if it had been a consistent show, maybe things would have happened differently. But this show, the way it is, like, if this is where we're headed with Columbo as a character, I'm a little disappointed, because I was really expecting it to just be this way when we got to the return of Columbo. I wasn't expecting it to be part of the kind of original run of the show. So this episode's fine. I think, you know, the end of the season we may just kind of limp along here to the end of the season. I don't know. At least we get some good back and forth with Louis Jourdan and Columbo, but everything else just kind of seems like treading water, really. Just like genuinely just treading water, which this show doesn't do at all.
No, there are so many times where you just go, oh, remember this episode and this episode and this episode, and everything has a hook where you can say, oh, yeah, that was the one where this happens. Even in this one, you could say, oh, yeah, this is the blowfish poison. Okay, great. When it comes to the next one, right now, I haven't gone ahead and rewatched the next episode, Make Me a Perfect Murder, which sounds like a episode title that we've already had before. I'm going to have to look to see what the other one was, but I don't have any memory of that episode right now. So I'm very curious because normally I can be like, oh, well, Chris, you're going to really enjoy the next episode or you're going to fucking hate it. But I don't remember. Looking ahead, it's a 97-minute one, which usually is not a good sign for us. Hopefully there's not a lot of slap and tickle along the way where Columbo's, I don't know, waiting for things to be printed out in a civil servant's office or something. But I guess we'll find out when we come back next month to talk about Make Me a Perfect Murder. In the meantime, I want to thank John Walker for our opening theme and Colin Gallagher for our closing theme. And I want to thank you, Chris. Can you tell the folks at home what you have been working on lately, sir?
Everything that I work on is over at weirdingwaymedia.com, which is where this podcast and so many other fantastic podcasts by your friends over at Weirding Way Media can be found. From my show, The Culture Cast, to Mike's show, The Projection Booth, to Father Malone's show, Midnight Viewing, to Susan Lambert and Sharon Johnson's show, 80s TV Ladies, and everything in between. You're going to want to go over to Weirding Way Media and check them out. Stop listening to me describe them and go listen to them. What about you, Mike?
Pretty much the same thing. The only thing I think you might have missed was the show that we do for our Patreons. That's patreon.com/culturecast and patreon.com/projection booth, which is called Ranking on Bond, which we're still cranking through. We're cranking on Bond or cranking on something else. And we've got just a few more episodes to talk about Daniel Craig racing towards the bottom and the inevitable death of James Bond. So,
spoilers, Mike. How could you?
Gosh, I'm sure nobody. Well, hopefully not a lot of people saw that last movie, but
well, I don't know if that spoiler is going to cause anyone else to go see it. So maybe you did some people a favor.
Fingers crossed.